things have changed dramatically. Even the last 3 months, we could feel that wave and how high things are going and how fast things are moving. What we are building today is more than what we have thought maybe even 3 years ago. What are you doing with AI? And not just using AI, now it has become more of what you're building with AI. But that has completely changed, right? That's where when you apply this AI native first thinking, you're not replacing tools. Now you can actually build tools, and they come and say, hey, we are limited to just Copilot and Gemini or ChatGPT. And that feels like age-old thing that you're doing today. With just vibe coding, you can build what used to take multi-million or billion dollars. I had that kind of epiphany where I realized, oh no, this is not just one more new technology. This is fundamentally going to change. And that's where I discovered the power of these new age browsers. Certain tools which I think are far ahead right now, which has completely changed is, of course,
Achal Negi is the Director of Business Development at FlytBase. Achal has spent more than 15 years working with drones and robots, starting at a time when most people still thought drones were toys. And for over a decade of that journey, he's been with FlytBase, building the business from ground up, growing it into what it is today, a global platform powering hundreds of autonomous drone deployments across more than 40 countries. He's done the hard yards of enterprise sales in a category that had to be invented in real time. Speaking of thought leadership in AI, Achal's conviction here goes back further than most. Achal was among the first to experiment with Lovable before vibe coding was even a term used by many. He sat overnight and built a dashboard for FlytBase's very first internal hackathon, where even the non-developers, or should I say especially the non-developers, were building their own AI infrastructure, their own tools, the ones they'd been paying for since forever. That energy has compounded over time. And today, speaking of Achal's team, of business developers, marketing folks, creative folks, they're all truly AI native. Under his leadership, they're not just using AI to get trivial stuff done. They're building their own workflows, their own infra, questioning from first principles how work should even happen. Achal has been the torchbearer in this entire journey, and today we are hacking into his mind to understand exactly how that shift happened. And if you're in sales, business development, or any kind of revenue function, pay close attention, because by the end of this conversation, you'll have no excuse not to be 10x. So welcome to Unfair Leverage, Achal. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Kachi. Thank you for inviting me for this, and this is a great initiative.
Let's start with the most important signal of all. Where do you think today, as an AI native business leader, where do you think your biggest leverage lies?
That's a great question. Fundamentally, if I think my decade-long journey working and building FlightBase, I would divide that into three major parts, right? So it has been always about thinking like product development, business development, and people development. Now, because of the AI native first thinking, the way we approach these three has fundamentally changed, right? Where it's not about, say, when you're doing a product, like what kind of functionalities or capabilities you will build it, how your vision has to expand with this AI superpower coming into the picture, right? What we are building today is more than what we have thought maybe even 3 years ago, right? We are aiming to become a system of actions for and nervous systems of large physical sites. You must have heard that, right? Or all our material and what we're talking about in a lot of keynotes. And that has grown rapidly. Same with business development, right? Usually, when you look at GTM, it was all about, hey, you need to have the right tools, always be in search for right tools, figure out how to daisy chain them, how to work around that. But that has completely changed, right? It's where when you apply this AI native first thinking, it's like you're not replacing tools. Now you can actually build tools for you, right? And you can build with tools which are hyper customized, right, for your own team and actually for yourself. And this is something which we actually learned as well, that it's not about that you put an AI developer or an engineering team to build this. For example, if sales team wants to build their sales team wants something, sales team would have to build on their own.
Okay.
And that has actually created a big leverage in mindset. We are able to give leeway to our people to explore, to build stuff. We don't want to hold them back, right? We don't stop them on AI credits or AI tokens. So that is something which is really important for leadership at a company to think about, because I still get a lot of interviews and they come and say, hey, we are limited to just Copilot and Gemini or Chat GPT, and that is feels like age old thing that you're doing today.
Absolutely. And I've been talking to a lot of people like during recruitment among my friends as well. One common pattern that I'm coming across is that most companies are saying that, okay, we want to leverage AI, we want to build our tools. Okay, so let's put a team of engineers to build the tool that our people want, our recruitment team or business team wants. But at FlytBase, we've been doing so many hackathons since like 2025 2024 even, where we've been pushing like the same recruiters and the same business people to build their own tool instead of it being given to a dedicated engineering team. And today, like, we see like any problem we face, we're just going ahead and building a tool for it. Any small like micro error we face, we're just going ahead and building a tool for it. And I think like tell me about the time like when the first hackathon was happening and you were the first person who made a vibe coded project with Lovable, made the hackathon dashboard with Lovable. Back then, it was not even called vibe coding. So, how did it all began at that time, that Christmas break?
Oh yeah, there's a nice story to it actually. So I think it was like mid of December 2024. Of course, the ChatGPT moment had already happened, but people were just treating that as a chatbot, right? And most of that time, it was everybody was trying to maybe write emails and do stuff. And I have a habit of listening to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of material, and I do that while walking. And this time I was walking with my dog,
Yeah.
and I was listening to Jensen Huang CES keynote, I think it was, and he was talking about, hey, how things are going from Gen AI to agentic AI to how it's going to impact physical AI, and we are on that curve right now.
Right.
The software 1.0 is dead. There will be software 2.0. We'll have self-learning loops. I had that kind of epiphany where I realized, oh no, this is not just one more new technology. This is fundamentally going to change. And the very first day, actually, I came to office and I spoke to rest of the folks, right, the leadership team. I shared that, and like we actually started thinking about it a lot. And we said, hey guys, we are at end of the year. Things are a little bit slow. While actually there was a lot of stuff which was happening in the product and things were like not working well, and we had to focus, we decided, hey, let's create a different batch of people, put them into a different corner of the office. Let's create a special place. Let's create a specific Slack channel. Let's call these AI Explorers 1, and let's create the first batch where it'll go out and explore outside. So we created that first batch, and it was a time where we were discovering new tools. Nobody had discovered that there's something called Lovable. Now everybody knows what is Lovable. Nobody knew what was Replit, what was happening in the creative field.
Right.
And within like half an hour, I'm going to director of engineering. I said, hey, I just coded this. I created an entire multi-video feed camera app, which I just talk to AI and do that. And at that time, like you correctly said, it was not even called vibe coding, right? We were just exploring that. So those were some initial things, like very initial. And this was, I now vividly remember that time where we were actually huddling every 2 hours and everybody's sharing, hey, I found this one, I found this model, I found this kind of a tool which leverages LLMs at the back. Somebody comes and says, hey, there is actually visual language model stuff happening. I read the research paper and they've published this open source. So it was the start.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, then we never looked back.
And the FlytBase's unfair leverage at that time was that we were always a high momentum, high energy place. So this kind of a setup wasn't very foreign for us, I'm sure.
Yeah, we have done that time and again.
Yeah.
So definitely right. But this was the part, and yeah, it just gave a new definition to what AI native workplace looks like, and that has been like a foundation. And since then we have had like endless number of hackathons. Of course, another one big one happened just after that, where this Explorer One kind of came back, like it is Explorer, right? So people have been sent to explore, like I used to happen back in at the time when people used to do geographic kind of exploration. So when these learnings were there and we presented like what's then AI SOTA state of the art, we immediately said we need to do a company-wide hackathon, and I think that was a game changer. Then when we did that, right? I think it was in January of
2025.
2025. Yeah, 2025 January. So, and since then we have done so many of those, which where every time we do that, we unlock the next stage.
Absolutely.
Right. So that.
Like we level up insanely. Like as a team, we level up every hackathon, and we've been having this ritual of doing it almost every month now. Speaking of which, like like AI has its learning loops. We have also had quite a lot of learning loops in the last couple of years in terms of leveraging which tools for which workflows, how to build infra, how to break infra. Even like mentality wise, we have had a lot of compounding, right? If you can go back like exactly a year ago, let's say April of 2025, what do you think, how much difference there is in our efficiency as a team, in our speed as a team?
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, I am not able to recollect even what we were doing in April 2025. Like even I see, I don't even know like what was the stage in December 2025, right? Even
Right.
January, the things have changed dramatically, right? Even the last 3 months, we could feel that wave and how high things are going and how fast things are moving. Yeah, but April 2025, I don't know what we were doing. We had this mindset already there, of course. We were working on this kind of stuff. We were I think the major change is at that time we were kind of being AI native was harnessing these tools. So you are using it correctly. You're not just chatting with AI, you're building your own RAG around it, uploading the right files in the project.
Your project was a big unlock of
Project was really big stuff, right? And you are doing that, and and what has changed is now it's not just about harnessing, it's like building with AI, right? So we saw tremendous things, and we actually built during that time as well, but those were like very simple apps, right? Like we have like shout out to AI at FlightBase podcast and the things that we do every Thursday. We had shared how Ankita from our team had built their own HR portal, but it was fairly kind of a simple stuff. But man, now what you can build with just vibe coding, it is like you can build what used to take multi-million or $1 billion to build in the software. You can build a lot of AI native stuff. You can be very specific and focused to what you need, and you can do that. So, yeah, fundamentally, that has changed a lot, and that's where the mindset is. And that's where I think in the last 3 months, that infra mindset has come into the place. We had that before. I mean, before we used to talk about, hey, we need to have something called Flight IQ. A lot of people will remember that we need a central kind of a center where you can ask anything about the business, features, what customers need, and so on. And we tried so many things and we built few versions of it. And actually, there was even big learning. Like we were always kind of hiring AI developers or somebody who knows this tool to build it and get this thing done, but it never got built.
Correct.
So there are two fundamental things actually, if I may add, changed. One is of course the inherent capability of models to do that, plus the realization that subject matter experts, right, need to build their own stuff, right? So sales team needs to build their own AI native sales CRM.
Yeah, that has been one of the most celebrated projects when we speak about wipe coded infrastructure, people building their own tools. Our Flight Force, which is our own CRM, that has been quite celebrated. So walk us through what are like the top features, top agentic features within that, and how like the team of 3 salespeople has built that.
Right. So first of all, I want to kind of make sure that I came across a post today as well where somebody was talking about, hey, you end up spending more if you're building with AI,
Right.
while $100 subscription may cost you like thousands of dollars to build, and your team's time should not go there. And again, the focus was that, hey, you're putting your engineering time or AI developers time there, and that's where it is wrong at multiple points, right? The thought process is that First of all, it's not AI developers, it's not engineers who need to build CRM.
Yeah.
The people who use CRM, or I don't know what now we call it, Force platform, Flight Force platform.
Because it's so much more than CRM.
So yeah, they need to think about, because they can hyper customize stuff. We have features which are very specific to FlightBase, which maybe other businesses may not even require. Previous into the B2B SaaS world, if you needed something, either you need to be a big enterprise and have to go to the big kind of CRM tools and pay them to customize it, or if you're using something like a $10 subscription, nobody would do it for you. And then you hack around that stuff. But now you can do that hyper customization, like our deal cards, the way they are designed. And then when we had this, we said, hey, we have almost 50 plus partners. How do we extend this? And he said, hey, let's build a PRM, not just CRM, right? Partner relationship management system. They need access to our sales material, marketing material. They have questions. They need to compare our software with competitors.
So all of that material lives in that
All
PRM.
that goes into one, and they get a portal, they can upload their pipeline, and actually we can see that together and work on those deals together. Otherwise, it would have been an Excel sheet or an
Yeah.
expensive,
Traditionally, that's what it's been,
yeah,
but now it's a
or a
whole.
traditional expensive software, right? That you would actually take on. So fundamentally, that has changed, and that has given us superpowers where now the team is actually able to jump higher. And now we're still keeping it a little bit secret, but you'll hear about the new products coming in at FlightBase, where how we are fundamentally building like features into our even our core platform. And again, it goes to that AI infrastructure, and I cannot stress more about that.
Yeah.
And still, I don't think that we are there. We don't want the team to be complacent and what we're doing. We're doing great, but
I'll
still
make
the
sure
ceiling
your
is
team
so
doesn't
high.
listen to this. No, but I think all of these small vibe coded projects that led to like finally we built Force, and then we built the PRM, and then now the sales team is building small prototypes of the product or like features themselves. I think all of this is like compounding, visible compounding over time, that we built that muscle, and now like today nobody can say that like what is the difference between an AI developer and somebody from our BD team, because they are so hands on.
Yeah. GTM team is actually not just building their tools. They are realizing that, hey, this feature is missing in the product, and they are shipping it. And it's not just us. I've heard these stories from a lot of companies who are AI native, right? I mean, not a lot, but good amount of companies where sales team, customer success team are able to push features right in the core product. And that's how it fundamentally changed. And it doesn't happen overnight,
Yeah.
and it doesn't happen if they directly jump to the product. They need to know how to build, how to QA, and so on.
Where all will the bugs be? Now speaking of like we've okay, a lot of infra, a lot of vibe coding, all of that is great, but like a lot of our audience for this podcast is going to be business people. So can you help me understand, can you share some examples of like how AI has helped you move the needle on deals? Have there been cases where like if you didn't have AI as your sidekick, probably that deal would have taken much longer to close, or like probably wouldn't have closed at all?
Yeah, multiple examples there where we can. So in sales, of course, the turnaround time is you need to keep it very short, right? Uh, and having the right infrastructure helps you do that. How fast you can get back to a customer with a proposal, right? With the right things, right stuff, and uh, when it's smaller, like initially, like I know that we were pushing out a lot of smaller stuff which was very quick, but then at point of time it was a big city project, and we had to submit almost like 40-50 pager. There were a lot of stuff that needs to be responded to, specific questions in the RFPs and so on. And
Something that would be done by a traditional pre-sales person, which is
oh,
like
yeah,
a dedicated.
right. It'll take days because there are
Yeah.
questions, there are workflows,
Yeah.
there are things which are specifically asked, and then you need a subject matter expert who can take two features, combine and write a workflow, and then that person would write it, and then probably a PM would validate it. right? And then the guy who's front facing that deal would have to approve and send it. We made that proposal in 8 hours.
What? That is insane.
And that's where I discovered the power of these new age browsers.
Right.
So shout out to Dia that time. Dia had come out and I needed specific stuff because uh, okay, chats or basic chat GPT or Claude was there, right? And you had projects, so you can upload things and you can write stuff, and then it'll throw a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and
And
then you have to pick and choose and
then
QA
you
a
have to
lot.
choose, edit a lot, put that into the document, and then also you have to like harness it correctly. Like you just want specific item to be written, which has say two features. Hey, combine alarm integrations with AI detection, right? Or mission scheduler with these kind of data processing workflow. Just talking very specific to our product there.
Yeah.
But like in a generic chat with all these projects, it became very difficult, right? And it'll still take time. But that is where these browsers could help us because I could start writing the document. I had the bare bone done by Claude or ChatGPT, one of those, I don't remember now. But then the specific modules, I could open the right tabs or right documents, say that is there on our release page. This kind of workflow has been written in this document. I can combine these two and write that specific one.
Right.
And we could just iterate really fast and get those done. So that was the highlight, and it was long back. Since then, of course, things have become very much where we have lot more infra and we're still developing that to get there, and the teams have been using that to a greater extent.
Amazing. And speaking of like now that we are talking about tools, help me understand what does like today, what does your personal AI stack look like? I know it keeps changing for all of us, but if you had to just think back for the last 3 to 4 weeks, what have been the top 5 tools on your list which you keep going back to?
Yeah. Yeah. Considering this is going to be a video on YouTube, if you're watching this after 4 weeks or 8 weeks, don't rely on this answer. I'm talking as of today, which is like 21st April when we're recording this, and you'll probably see this in next few days. But yeah, fundamentally, of course, you would have to be on top of a lot of tools are coming. Keep trying, but certain tools which I think are far ahead right now,
Yeah.
which has completely changed, is of course Claude Cowork and Claude Code, right? I have my daily summaries for emails where those tasks would run on schedules, right? Where it would, as I come to my office, it already looks at those emails, create some action items, and put it there. My Cloud Cowork is connected to my Drive, my Gmail, my calendar. It's also connected to our AI native CRM. Our sales team build their own MCP, so I can pull that data and our stuff. It's also connected to our customer success AI native portal that we have built, where it can
Amazing.
pull data from there. So mostly working on those part, on so Cloud Cover, Cloud Code, hands down. And then I am in love with the new browsers. So of course, a lot of people don't kind of say good things about ChatGPT Atlas, but that still remains a lot of primary thing because of that projects that I can access, right? So I have projects for multiple things. Say I'm sending some emails to 50 people to invite them for a specific event, and I want it hyper customized,
Right.
and have some context of certain things. I have that project already there, has understanding. I can pull that project right in my browser and just write this. Of course, I can do that with Cloud Cowork as well. But when I need a very specific handle on each and every email, where I want some manual things to be also there, so I know those are really hyper customized, and I don't want it to be wrong in any manner, because it's probably I'm sending it to some kind of leadership at the other partners or our customers. So I use those browsers a really lot. So ChatGPT Atlas, Comet is really good, right? When I'm actually I want to do something with a browser, so it can click things for me. It can
Agentic
get things
browser.
done. Yeah, agentic
Yeah.
browser, so it can actually bring right LinkedIn profiles of a company or
Oh, yeah.
or bunch of that stuff. So yeah, primary around that.
So now in 2026, has Dia gone down the list on your list?
Zia is great. Yeah, I use it for such kind of work where I think the tab interaction is the best in Zia, where I can pull in those tabs. But yeah, most of the time, I do those stuff and then team gets over it, and then team is doing that a lot. So then I keep moving to the new stuff and realizing what helps in my day-to-day work.
No, that's amazing because so much of it is just like swapping between tools because it's now become our muscle memory that like, hey, this tool would be great at this tool would be great at this. So when you're doing that orchestration layer of work, you are just telling like 5 different tools what to do, and like at the end of 1 hour, you have outsized outcomes instead of just you using what people use today, like ChatGPT projects. A lot of people are discovering today. I'm sure like a lot of salespeople watching this would be like, oh my god, how do teams use Claude Code? Like sales team using Claude Code is such a fascinating thing.
I mean,
Over
they've been
time,
doing this for now months,
yeah,
right? And they have understood that power, and that's why they're able to build stuff. They're able to do a lot of stuff. You'll hear about a lot of things coming up, about how they're using just Claude Code to send 150 emails.
right.
I mean, that nobody kind of thinks about that, but yeah, it could be done. It could be done in a very hyper customized way, and yeah, lot of stuff could kind of move to a lot of stuff could move to Cloud Code or Cloud Cowork. The Cloud extension in Chrome is a great opening. It's still I don't like it very much. It's very slow, but yeah, the way things are moving in Anthropic, I know that is going to be even great. So yeah,
Absolutely.
if you're hearing this after 3-4 weeks,
Yeah, don't judge us.
judge me. Thinks it's track. DM me on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. And speaking of like, I mean, so many new tools, so many updates are coming up every day. How exactly, like, it's super duper important to keep up with the state of the art every single day because like things are changing by the rate of the hour. So how do you stay on top of things, and what kind of channels, platforms are you following, most active on? If you had to like segment your day, that like I spend most time with this influencer to get on top of things. If somebody's starting out with their AI explorations, what would you recommend today?
I mean, if you're not on X right now, you're losing out, right? X as a platform is tremendous with what people are sharing with AI. Once you start following a lot of people, I don't even remember, I don't even look at the names of the people who shared it, but what they share is very important. Right. So every morning going through X kind of helps me understand what's going on. And I mean, I don't get much of a global news on X. I just get my AI news on X. So I follow a lot of people. Yeah, as I said, I don't remember the names specific people I follow.
What about the podcasts that you've been listening to?
Yeah, podcast wise, I think podcast much more on the leadership front of how other leaders are thinking about it, right? So that's where I put a lot of time, like with Lenny's podcast,
Right.
right? Always on top of things, right? Great leaders coming in, and it has become quite holistic podcast from different perspective, right? There are a lot of good kind of podcast from people who are into sales, right?
Yeah, originally it used to be like a PM podcast, but it's not that anymore. It's for everybody. Leadership,
I
GTM.
remember the Sastur guy coming in, and then one more lady. I think her name was Jen. I'm forgetting the full name, but
Ah,
you can really good podcast on GTM, good podcast on pricing, AI native pricing, how to think about pricing from AI. So there's a lot of good podcasts there. So I keep on top of that. Even there are podcasts from the developers at Lovable or builders at Lovable, and lot to learn how they.
yeah, Elena from Lovable's growth team came. That was an incredible episode of Lenny's.
So Larry podcast on top on how leaders are thinking. Love the podcast. Moonshots. Really recommend it. All in podcast helps you understand, makes it good geopolitics of what's going on. Very important to understand
Right.
because a lot of stuff is moving in this direction. So yeah, these are my some top recommendations.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Achal. One last thing before we end this podcast today. So, we have been hiring in our GTM team, like across the board, marketing, salespeople, customer success people. And I have been leading that effort. I know like what kind of people, like today we have almost like 0.5% acceptance rate. Like out of thousands of people, we are like recruiting like one in a month. that bar has gotten quite high to get into FlytBase or get into any AI native company today. Um, can you tell me what kind of people, can you help the audience understand what kind of people are we looking for at FlytBase? What kind of, and even if like, even if they have not done much with AI, what do they need to do in the next 2 months to get on your radar?
Oh yeah. Right. So I think pre-AI, my checks were, because I personally look at my my career, and I did a lot of stuff back in my college. So anybody who was coming new, I always look for that what did they have done in college, from the robotics, their tech projects, their drone project, or even college fest and so on. So that was a key indicator pre-AI. And for even people who are the senior roles, the key indicator was, hey, what kind of initiatives that they have taken, what kind of programs that they have built, have they even come across and price the product while they were in the GTM team, how much product knowledge they have, how much technical knowledge they have. For young folks, it was also about like what tools they know. Have they used these kind of tools? Hey, I use this kind of tool, that tool I would not name, but of course, there are a lot of tools which they were using.
Right.
But now, like those are things are good. They are still something that I check. But the more weightage is, hey, what are you doing with AI? And not just using AI, it has become more of what you're building with AI, right? And the good thing is, if you're not doing something right now and you're just using AI, not building, it doesn't take much time to actually become a builder. If you have deep expertise in your domain or you love that domain, like if you are just a young lad coming out of the college, but you really love marketing, you really love selling, if you once you start building and make AI your coach as well, plus building like a code developer, right? Where you're white coding stuff with things, you can get so much far and create a 10-day, 20-day, 30-day plan. And I'm sure by day 30, you'll be far ahead where you can get my attention or my team's attention.
Right. It could be like, a really cool portfolio that you vibe coded. It could be an outbound engine that you've created on N10, like whatever. Like there's so many things now out there on YouTube. And we always say, Achal, that we are hiring like two kinds of personas at FlytBase. So one is a hyper experimenter. So it's a young lad, fresh out of college, has done multiple things, dabbled his hands into like multiple different variety of things as well. And one is a domain expert. So somebody who has a lot of taste can do QA of their own work, doesn't need a lot of like hand holding in anything. And these are the only two personas like are ever since, like, I mean, since forever this has been our hiring philosophy, that there is no middle, there's nobody that we want to hire that we'll be telling that, hey, this is what you need to do today. And today in the AI era, both of these personas have become kind of their own superpowers. So the hyper experimenter is building like 10 different AI tools and workflows of their own, and the domain expert is sort of making their own craft easier, better, more efficient, or more scalable today. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, totally. And that is where we are.
Right.
While I would say that the value of somebody who is a subject matter expert and can do a QA of that is much, much higher.
Right.
And if that person could also become a builder, it's a specific skill, it's a superpower, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff AI can do. But the ability to kind of QA that and if this would work for yourself or for the customer, it's very important. You need experimentators, like you said, like people who are that kind of goes to the same things, right? Where people who did stuff in college,
Yeah.
they were
100%.
hacker mindset.
So probably it's like merging, like you have to be both an experimenter and domain expert.
And you need that because there are a lot of stuff which is happening so fast, and there are some things which you're building very core where there is something in open source, there's something somewhere else where the core models are not doing, but you can build those stuff as well. So you need the right persona, and if you're building something complex, pairing them together could work wonders. Now, where you're doing that stuff, but it's not something like that. The SME should not have they should have a building experience, and they should be building parallel with AI so they can vibe with each other really well.
Right. Thank you so much, Achal. This has been a wonderful chat.